Welcome to Top Story Season 2. We started with 20 universities at the boot camp. Only 16 made it to the second round to do real stories in different counties. Now, only 9 teams remain. They'll interview a high-profile person and the judges will pick 4 of the best universities. The Top Story League table will show all the teams' progress. Last week, Mount Kenya University rose to the second position in our league table with a score of 58.6%. The judges will read the students' blog on how they went about conducting their interview and then watch the interview.
One of them wants to be really mean, I'll leave it to them. I'll choose to be the level-headed one who tries to give as much honest feedback as I can.
Rules have to be followed. You cannot progress a team that has not produced a journalistic product that can stand on its own.
You can have loads of facts, loads of content, but as long as it doesn't translate, as long as it doesn't connect, and as long as it doesn't seem as if you're getting through to people, then sometimes those things fall flat.
Today, we follow Maseno University. It's an all-boys team, and Maseno have set their eyes on the top prize.
The journey in Top Story has been long. We managed to book a chance to proceed to quarterfinals, where we were taken to Muranga to dig into a story about dairy farming, and we managed to make it to semi-finals.
We had a lot of challenges. We learned a lot from the experience, and I believe the next challenge will even give us more enlightenment over the same investigative journalism.
We looked at the current trends right now. There is a food crisis in the country, and that is why people are crying of hunger. So we arrived at somebody who is involved in milling industry, and that is how we arrived at Sunil Shah. What we expect from this interview is to perhaps know something unique about this our person, Mr. Sunil Shah. What is unique about him? Why is media not focused on him? And yet what he's doing is impacting into the lives of Kenyans. In fact, even outside Kenya.
Good evening. Welcome to Top Story Season 2. My name is Stephen Oduor. Today, we are going to focus on the food security in Kenya. And with me is the Executive Managing Director of United Millers Limited, Mr. Sunil Shah. Welcome.
Thank you.
In the past few weeks, Kenyans have been burdened by the crisis of low hunger supply across the country. This has seen the price of the commodity double to up to 180 Kenyan shillings. Although the government has come out with initiatives to help lower the cost, some shopkeepers allegedly have come up with unscrupulous ways that would help them garner higher profits. Kenyans are suffering. Farmers are complaining. What about the millers? Mr. Sunil Shah will help us understand this further and probably give his opinion on how this situation can be remedied. But before we get into that, Mr. Sunil Shah, please tell us who you are.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm Sunil Shah.
Yeah. At some stage during the course of my journey, my father needed further help in business. So I decided then to complete my secondary and join him in his business. He was actually based in Nairobi. And I then decided that I wanted to go back to Kisumu, where I was actually born. And coming here is when I decided to go into food business. And I started with milling rice in this area because there's a lot of rice grown in Ahero. And then slowly went into milling maize as well. So in turn, this has led to my growth. And I'm just proud to say that this is my 40th year since I started. And the other proud thing is that I started with 1 employee and now I'm employing over 100 people. So, to me, it's very satisfying.
Wow, that's amazing. Probably just to dive back, right? You say that you were born in Kenya?
In Kisumu.
In Kisumu here. Yeah. So probably the viewer would like to know, Which school did you go to?
One of the schools was Central Primary, and the secondary one I did 1 year at Kisumu Boys High School, after which I went to Britain for a little bit more exposure on what British education offered in their home ground. I just wanted to also experience that.
So basically the whole of your life you've lived in Kenya?
Yes.
What inspired your business acumen and drove you to invest in the Kenyan market?
But one of the things is when you're young, you want to do something which you think you can be very good at. In my case, my first motivation was how to make money and make some profit. So I had to find a subject which was passionate to me. And to me, grain and food was passion.
Could that also would have been driven by the fact that Kisumu people like a lot of ugali at times, maybe?
Yes, I mean, yes, people, of course, they like the basic food, which in Kenya is ugali. Other foods are now being taken up. Foods like wheat flour, rice, sorghum, millet, pastas, all these things are now consumed by Kenyans.
I've done a lot of research. I understand the number of products that you're giving out there, and people are appreciating it. Especially in Kisumu Maseno, we use a lot of your products. What is your secret to this success?
Well, the first thing is to understand what kind of product, what type of quality people need. And then what is our strategy in terms of marketing and selling? So obviously, whatever the area is nearest to us is where we begin to circle. And then we begin to look at the next circle until we can reach as far as we can with our products.
What would you say the current food shortage how has it affected your industry and your consumers as well?
Well, unfortunately, this year, I think all of us have been caught up due to droughts and other factors. And other factors were that maize used to also come from Tanzania, also from Uganda. But those countries also went through their drought as well. So this is something where we are all being caught up. On the other side, the government is trying its very best to bring in maize. And at the moment, they're giving subsidized maize to millers so that we mill and sell at a cost the government would like Wananchi to have. So this is the situation at the moment. And I think there's no real reason to panic that we will starve. We are not going to starve. The government is really trying its best.
What is your company doing in the same situation of shortage of food to ensure that whatever products you are processing can also be, in a way, like, do you have any farms that are supposed to bring in products here, or do you just buy them directly from the farmers in the field? 4
years ago, I looked at the scenario that Kenya and this region is going to have food deficits because our populations are increasing. So what I did is I ventured into Narok, leased some land, and started doing some trials, how to grow maize, what happens, how to make better yields and quality. From there, I've now moved on to growing wheat and to see what happens with the wheat quality, the yields, and the problems associated with farming in that particular area.
How are you making sure that you've given back to the society?
Having a food industry here is helping people to get food readily and quickly. On the other side, we do like to support children in particular, where they can do sports. So we sponsor more so on sports, football for the youth. We do golfing sponsorships in the area. So these are a number of activities we do to support the children and the youth.
Well, Maseno University's Unga story has kept the judges happy and focused.
As probably an investor into the Kenyan economic structure, what would you say about the business environment, both in Kenya and in Nairobi, in relation to the kind of production that you are doing right now?
Improving. Kenya is improving. Government is trying its best to minimize red tapes wherever possible. We are seeing that difference, and I'm certain a time is coming, possibly from 2018, when we will see lots of investors coming to this country.
There's capping of interest rates by the CBK. that's supposed to regulate the kind of interest that the banks give to loaners, right? How do you think this is going to influence or rather impact on investors and industrialists within Kenya?
I am a believer of free market, that let the market conditions determine the price and services that can be afforded by the Kenyan. So at the moment, the government has put interest cap to make it affordable for the Kenyan to borrow and be able to repay. But I think that's a short-term measure. Things will change. At the same time, the banks need to also look at what are the other income streams they can make money from by giving newer and innovative products into the market.
The milling industry has a lot of potential. What do you feel threatened about the young millers that are coming up?
Not really. I don't feel threatened at all. If anything, that's really competition, and competition continues to keep us on our feet, you know. But you must remember that population is increasing in Kenya. So we need more services, not only milling industries, but we need schools, colleges, hospitals, all those services everywhere need to be expanded in this country.
That's amazing. So Mr. Sunil, maybe allow me to ask this on a light note. What's the net worth?
It's a good question. Often people want to know how much money do I have in my pocket, but the answer for me is not what I'm having in my pocket. My net worth lies with my employees, with my customers, and with my suppliers, because they're all benefiting from my own industry, so they're making money. So you can really measure how much contribution I'm giving in sustaining all these people and how much money they are making. So this is where my net worth really lies.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and it was an honor talking to a person of your caliber.
So what do the judges think of Maseno's performance?
My knee-jerk reaction is that it was a good interview. I think knee-jerk. Why are you making fun of my knee-jerk statement? Immediate, it's knee-jerk, yes. Stephen maintained, he articulated, first of all, he understood and articulated the issues well. I think the profile of the guest was also very apt, given that he's a player in a very key industry, key sector, which is food. But Stephen maintained enthusiasm throughout. He had very good questions that made sense, I think, with regards to what it is that he sought out to find out. He had an ease about him.
That's amazing. So, Mr. Sunil, maybe allow me to ask this on a light note. What's the net worth? Do you feel threatened about the young millers that are coming up?
And I think from all the interviews we've seen today, he's been the most consistent in terms of his enthusiasm, his engagement, his research. So I'm quite impressed by him.
I like the fact that they found a local captain of industry. Maseno University is based in Kisumu, and they found a local captain of industry who understands the area, who has actually grown up in the area, and so on and so forth.
I am born here in Kisumu, raised here in Kisumu.
He asked a lot of relevant questions and spot-on questions. Questions that all of us wanted to hear in the context of the food shortage that we were experiencing around the time this story was done.
What do you think would be an ideal option for maybe the local consumers, apart from ugali?
It has been a sort of a worldwide phenomenon that one of the products that goes next is wheat flour. Wheat flour has multi-end uses.
I like the fact of, that this team would ask a global question, like a question on government policy on food, including Galana, including subsidies and so on.
There's the Galana Kulalu project, irrigation scheme that was initiated by the government.
They're now at the trial stage and research stage. It takes a little time for them to get there. And then don't forget, it also requires a lot of money, a lot of funding. I'm hoping it will be successful in about 2 to 3 years from now.
On the downside, I think what they should have done would have been to give the intro that they gave before bringing in Sunil.
And with me is the Executive Managing Director of United Millers Limited, Mr. Sunil Shah. Welcome.
Thank you.
In the past few weeks, Kenyans have been burdened by the crisis of low unga supply across the country.
I thought it was a really powerful, very direct, very contextual introduction that really got me sitting up and I'm like, oh, okay, good. This guy is going to address something. Yes, the order might have been off, but still it was convincing.
In the past few weeks, Kenyans have been burdened by the crisis of low unga supply across the country. This has seen the price of the commodity double to up to 180 Kenyan shillings.
This was the best interview that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to mince my words about it. This guy, Stephen, and his team, considering that in the blog they said they had just 3 meetings, they really utilized their time really well.
The group dynamics for our team, I think we are 3 people and we did our research well. There was one who was doing research in conjunction with the others, but there was one who was leading the research.
When he was talking about Narok, there was a linkage back to what's happening in Kisumu. So he was always bringing it home to the viewers in Kisumu. Say this was going to be broadcast in Kisumu, which is really important for an interviewee to have in mind.
The young man seemed prepared, and he asked the right question. Some of the questions were related to present time, and some of the questions were related to other times. I was quite actually surprised when he asked me what are my net worth, because a lot of young people really want to know how did he make money and how much money he has.
For me, basically, my thoughts were good profile of the guest. Quality of the interview was consistent. It was well articulated. Quality of research was actually really good. I liked the opening. He kind of took control from the very beginning. Goals were achieved, and overall, I'm quite impressed. I'm happy with the pace, etc. So I gave them 33 out of 50.
I am again, I think,
The generous one.
the generous one. I am 2.5 marks above Janet. I have given them 35.5.
Wow.
I am the generous one.
No.
Yes.
No. Do you believe
Yes.
it? I don't believe it.
Yes.
Let's see.
Let's see.
37.
What?
Yeah. I gave him 37.
Hey.
And I'm very proud to stand by that. So well done. Yeah, that was really
I think
good.
he has a future in business. I don't want to pigeonhole him, but he could be a good business anchor reporter, business journalist. Yeah, I think so.
The judges are impressed and their scores tell it all. Where will this place Maseno University on the league table? This result will almost certainly drive Maseno University into the finals of the competition.
You know, we had a very unanimous judgment on this one, is that it was a good interview. I think, Stephen, for me, it's encouraging to see someone like him and his team. If we have more, remember I've been saying again and again, it's about context and content and research. He presented all of that. But on top of that, he was very enthusiastic. He was smiling throughout. The smile would disappear when the topic got a bit serious, but his enthusiasm and body language showed he was really into the interview. So the viewer at home also gets into the interview.